All right. Hello. Hello. We live. We live. Hello. How's everyone doing? Yeah. So typically for these, I have my headphones on because Tocid would be with us, and his power rankings would not be fully on the board to begin this, but he has something else going on tonight, so he won't be here. Thus, both of ours. So just we ask away. What's up, Off Flash? Yeah. How's everyone doing? Week 3 begins tomorrow with a good one. Man, oh man. I mean, the AFC East. They just love Thursday night football. I guess it used to be the AFC South. In like 15 and 16, it felt like every other week that an AFC South matchup was going on Thursday night. I guess that role was taken up by the AFC East this year. But yeah, again, power rankings up here. I can try to explain Toastids. He's not here to fully explain it. But again, for the most part, we have the same teams. Some of his teams that are on his, like the Steelers and Cardinals, were honorable mentions for me. So we, for the most part, have pretty much the same teams, just a few jumbled around. I don't think there's been a single week where we've had a team on the same exact spot, which is interesting. But yeah, I know there was a question on the Power Rankings video about why the Vikings weren't ahead of the 49ers for me. And it's just plain and simple. Yeah. Plain and simple, I still think the Niners are a better team than the Vikings. And it's less the fact that, like the head-to-head matchup was necessarily good or anything, or again, the Vikings did win that. It's just, I don't think the Vikings are better than the teams in between them and the Niners. And I don't think the Niners are necessarily worse than any team in between them either. So I'm not going to put the Vikings higher up just for the sake of them having beat the 49ers when they just aren't a better team than most of the other teams in their way. Because I don't fully trust the Vikings yet. They've had 2 really good games, but the first one was against the Giants. And the second one, yeah, it was a nice win against the 49ers and everything, but the Niners just did not look like themselves. And it's a trend of the 49ers cannot beat Minnesota in Minnesota. So that's one. We'll see how long the Vikings can keep up their stretch here that they have going on, but again, I feel pretty solid about the fact that the Vikings, if going head to head against any of the team, against like the Saints, Seahawks, Bills, or Lions, I think the Vikings would lose. But then if the Niners go up against any of those teams, the Niners have a pretty good chance of winning. Like head to head isn't the only thing you can look at for this. So, well, yeah, like the head to head matchup is what got them into the top 10 because they weren't even. They might have been honorable mentions last week, but like if they were on the outskirts. So like they did jump up quite a bit. It's not like they're just like moved up a spot or two like that. They probably jumped up 3 to 4, maybe even 5 spots in between weeks. It's just I do think the Niners are still a better team. So me and Tosin did almost have a similarity here. I almost put the Saints at 10. Only reason I didn't is because their win against the Cowboys was a lot better than the Vikings win against the 49ers. And Justin Jefferson is the whole, like, he is day-to-day with that quad. So it's kind of like, not fully sure how to view that at the moment. I'm sure he'll play and everything. And once he does, it'll probably be a non-factor. Well, okay, I had the Steelers. I'm not sure exactly what he is. But, like, 8 is not a bad spot for the Steelers. They are 2-0. They've played relatively dominant of games. Well, yeah, they're not scoring a lot of points. They are winning in the Steeler way. So like them being at 8 isn't that bad. Like I think for me, You know, if this is extended to like 14, 15, I think the Steelers would have been at like 12. And then the Vikings, I mean, they did beat what were hyped up as one of the best teams in the NFL in the 49ers. So it makes sense that like they're going to be on the power ranking somewhere. Just I guess he just views it better. But it's like I was tempted to put the Vikings a little bit higher. Just I don't know. But putting Tampa at two, like me putting Tampa at two, was a weird one because initially they were at 3 or 4, and then the Eagles lost their game. So I was like, well, hey, where am I supposed to rank them now? Same with the Texans. Like I the three I had to like redo were 2 through 4 because the Eagles losing. Yeah, I get not being able to respect the Steelers because again, like they haven't showed much on offense yet. They have a really good matchup against the Chargers this week that's gonna force them to show a little bit more on offense. So if they're so both the Chargers and the Steelers were honorable mentions for me this week. Whichever one wins that game is going to find themselves on the power rankings most likely. Because because it's either the Steelers offense finally shows up and is able to like and able to like put up a consistent string of points, or it's the Chargers being like, yeah, we are that good. We're going to be able to stick with everything. I will say Justin Herbert did not practice today, which is definitely concerning because what their backup is Easton Stick, right? They don't have the greatest of backups. So if Herbert isn't good to go, that's going to massively hurt them for this one. I picked the Chargers based off the fact that like Herbert will be able to make plays if needed to late in that game. Because like it could very easily could be a smash mouth defensive focused primary game. So like that game's gonna be interesting. I believe it's a 1 o'clock game. I'm tempted to stream it because again, like I miss it. I am not gonna be able to stream tomorrow night. I got something going on myself. So I'm tempted to stream that Steelers game. My only like issue with it is the fact that Miami plays at 4 and like at 4:05 and not 4:25, or not at, like a time where like I can still do like my typical pregame stuff before Dolphin games. So we'll see. I might move stuff around then, but yeah. Oh, do they still have Max Duggan? I could have sworn he might be on the practice squad. I could have sworn they released him though. Or maybe I'm thinking of someone else that they had. Because I know they also had Luis Perez from the UFL. Uh yeah, they did, yeah, Max Duggan did get released by the Chargers. But yeah, he's on the practice squad now. So then who is officially listed as their QB2 if not Duggan? 'Cause, yeah, him being on the practice squad. Hold on, I'm checking the Chargers depth chart. Uh, yeah, the QB2 is Easton Stick, and then they have Taylor Heineke as QB3. So I mean, Heineke could definitely step in and perform well if need be. I'm not fully confident in Easton Stick, but hey, I guess we'll see. I'm also just gonna add below this real quick. There we go. Then when you comes in, like if it is Heineke, I am still confident the Chargers can win. But with Easton Stick, I just don't fully know. That's gonna be a fun game. Again, probably really defensive. Probably a field position battle majority of the game. Yeah, again, That's gonna be a good one. My other game of the week is Houston versus Minnesota. That's one where they're going to make an impact on power rankings for sure. Like if Minnesota wants to gain like a little more of respect from me, they beat Houston, they probably going in the top five. Because now that would like, getting two back to back really impressive wins, even with yes, both of them being at home. Like that would be amazing for Minnesota, especially if Sam Darnold can keep playing keep playing to the level he has been. Because that's one of the other questions. Is like, can he keep up the level of play he has? Yeah, man. Not a lot of people are picking the Patriots tomorrow night. I mean, I kind of expected it because it feels like the Jets are starting to find their identity on offense. I fully expect Jefferson to be playing. He's only day to day. It's not like he's week to week or whatever. I fully expect him to be playing, but I'm a little more worried about Aaron Jones. Them not if they don't have him going, who's their backup running back? Yeah, a lot of people picking the Jets, a lot of people picking Cleveland, a lot of people picking Green Bay, as it seems Jordan Love might be good to go for Sunday. That would be a massive gain for Green Bay. Don't get me to lie. Let me look up. Let me find out who the Vikings backup back is then. Mm-hmm. Ty Chandler, and they also have Miles Gaskin. Yeah, it's not with a great running back room. Yeah, like I don't know. Like, but again, the Jets are just a weird team at the moment. While New England may not have the greatest offense on paper, their defense has played really solid, and then their offense has done enough. Like they're playing complementary football. They're playing like I said, true team. Meanwhile, the Jets are struggling on offense these first 2 weeks, and the defense has played the defense played better against Tennessee, but at the same time, it is against Tennessee. And then when it played the 49ers, the defense struggled a bit. So that should be interesting. Yeah, a lot of people picking Green Bay. The Bears and Colts game is more split than I thought it was going to be. Purely because Chicago's offense looks abysmal. The offensive line has had done a terrible job this year so far. The offense can't do a lot. It did better against Houston, but barely. And it's not like the Colts have a lot of great defensive weapons on the front seven, but they have enough to where they can get pressure on Caleb Williams. And then the Bears had a relatively difficult time containing CJ Stroud from using his legs. Anthony Richardson is a lot more of a mobile quarterback than CJ Stroud. So I feel like they're going to struggle there as well. Plus, the game is in Indianapolis. A lot of people picking the Texans, not too surprised there. Good chunk of people picking the Saints. Not too surprised there, because that Saints Eagles game is going to be another really good game. Like that should be another really good game. In New Orleans, what's up, level? Look, the Eagles' defense has looked okay the first 2 weeks. The offense just is inconsistent. Meanwhile, the Saints have been dominant on both sides of the ball against two wildly different teams. Like week one against Carolina, yeah, you expected to be dominant. But then they walked into Dallas and bullied them. The Eagles are gonna have a tough time. Uh, Damn near even split for Chargers Steelers. Yeah, no one fully knows what to expect out of that game. I mean, I mean, at least that's for the pickups. It's pretty even split. When it comes to like the actual bets, most of the money is on the Chargers to cover. It's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a really good game. Again, one I'm thinking about potentially going live for. Not fully certain on it just yet, so don't hold out anything. Tua is a dog. Like he does not go like if like he's like I'm not surprised that he's gonna try and continue to play once he gets cleared to play, whenever that is. Like he's a true competitor. He does not want he wants to go out on his terms. Teddy Bruschi is explained it really well. I believe on Sunday NFL Countdown for ESPN, where he's like, "Hey, as a player, you don't like, as a player, if you're gonna stop playing, you want it to be on your terms because you want to feel good about how you go out. Every player has a mental image of their final snap, their final play, or their like final game, whatever. So the players want that to happen. So no one wants to go down and have the career ended with an injury, or it's like another, or like go down sad. So the fact that he still wants to play, apparently, according to the reports, like I fully am not surprised. I'm gonna be behind him no matter what. He was placed on IR, so he's going to miss up until week 8. From there, we will see. So like he's gonna miss the next 4 games at the bare minimum. Again, and then at that point, it's all up to like what the doctors say and when he gets cleared to play from the concussion protocol. But I like the majority of reports and from like even within the Dolphins, it feels they expect him to be back sometime this season. So the mindset is just survive until he gets back, and hopefully that is for the week 8 game against the Cardinals. Because well, yeah, IR is you miss 4 games. The bye week doesn't count as one of those weeks you miss. So he has 5 weeks to just not worry about anything and just focus on himself. Skylar Thompson is getting the start on Sunday for Miami. Who he's a third year guy for us that we drafted right before that he was the quarterback selected right before Brock Purdy, which is not the greatest of sign or not the greatest of things, but he played well for us his rookie season and obviously didn't see the field last year. My main thing with Thompson is he just doesn't like my main thing with Thompson isn't necessarily a him thing. It's more of a McDaniel thing where keep it simple. Like if they can keep it simple on Sunday and purely focus on getting the ball to playmakers in space and like a lot of screens, a lot of handoffs, a lot of jet sweeps, end arounds, even throughout the Wildcat in there, why not? Just find ways to get the ball to the main 4, which is Hill, Waddle, Achane, and Mostert, and let them make the plays. Yeah, because there's one game that I've mentioned to friends and that I've seen other Dolphins fans mentioned of like hey, if he can play like this, we'll be fine. And that's the Minnesota game from his first year. Like he did leave that game early due to injury, but he played well in that game up until that point. No, Mostert's still on the team. They cut they cut Robbie Chosen from the practice squad. That was the other move they made yesterday. Yeah, Mostert's still here. He missed last week due to injury, but yeah, he's still kicking. He's still here. Whatever is this? Robbie Chosen, Robbie Anderson, Chosen Anderson, Chosen. It feels like he changes his name every 2 years. Like I do whenever I can. I do like the Sporkle quizzes, and a lot of those are from like the late 2010s, early 2020s. I like to do. So in those quizzes, it was at that time where he went by Robbie Anderson. Like that's the main thing. Today is yeah, we should have gotten injury reports today. Well, let me see if I can find that. Yeah, there we go. Don't know how I missed this earlier. So let's see. Injury report. God damn Seattle. So Calais Campbell got a vet rest day today. Armstead was a DNP. Robert Jones, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Phillips, Malik Washington were all limited. Uh, my so, uh, because I got really burnt out from Madden for like most of this decade so far, I have been playing a lot of other non-sports games. So I've played the God of War series, the Sly Cooper series, Uncharted. I'm going through the Last of Us series right now. I'm like halfway through Last of Us Part 2. Playing through the Infamous series, but by far my favorite is God of War. It's either God of War, the series as a whole is incredible. Hades was a great game. I'm really excited for the sequel, which is coming out, I believe, either end of this year or next year. I'm really excited for that. An underrated game I have found that I don't see a lot of people talking about is Tales of Iron. Tales spent like a dog tail. It's a Souls like Metroidvania. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, God of War or Hades by far favorite games I've played. It helps that I am really into like mythology and all that, so those were right up my alley to begin with. But also recently, the new college football has had me on a chokehold. Like that's the most fun I've had with a sports game probably since like Madden 20, like the original Madden 25. And also like the NHL games I have fun with just because they have actual like good franchise modes, in my opinion. Like I do play some video games. It's definitely like this is the one like fall where I haven't played as many or as often as I would normally, just because doing all the stuff with the channel now. But yeah, I'm okay. There was a good solid fuck like 30, 15, 16 years. 15 years was pretty much all just Madden. So now I'm catching up to everything. I've actually since gone back and built my Madden PS3 collection. So I have all the Maddens that released on PS3 besides Madden 07 at this point. Is CF25 the college football 25? If so, yes. I am still on the dynasty I made when the game first launched, basically with Kennesaw State. I am how far I am into it am I? I actually just like right before stream I just finished another season of that. I am probably 10 plus seasons in, which is the longest I've ever gone into a dynasty or franchise mode. It is incredible. Again, like easily the most fun I've had with a sports game this decade. Like typically, like in Madden's, when I do franchise mode, it will last 3 years max. Sometimes, no, I am well deep into this dynasty mode. It's incredible. Enjoy it when you get it. Again, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely more arcadey than Madden, but if at the same time it feels like those like PS3 Maddens, which I like a lot. I'm not surprised. Madden 25 is bad. I have it because I got the MVP bundle with College Football 25. I haven't touched it because I don't care really. Like the one reason I really would have touched Madden 25 is because of being able to transfer your Road to Glory from College Football 25 to Madden. I haven't even touched Road to Glory yet. Legit, like my thing with College Football 25, when that game released, I made the scoring in every touchdown, scoring a touchdown with every school video that you can find on this channel, and then I went straight to Dynasty mode and haven't touched anything else since. Because Dynasty is just that much fun. Eventually, I'll get to Road to Glory before 26 releases, I hope. If I don't, I also don't care. If I spend this entire year with 25 purely playing a 30-year dynasty with Kennesaw State, then I spend an entire year playing with Kennesaw State. I just simply don't care that much. Pull back up the injury report, please. I need to see Seattle's injuries list. They have a CVS or they have a CVS receipt worth. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure that can be frustrating. All right, let's see. So Seattle, Kenneth Walker, Lincoln Tomlinson, Jerome Baker, Leonard Williams, DK Metcalf, all DNP. Yes, college football is going to be a yearly release, just like Madden. I'm not sure how I fully feel about it, but the good news is at least like this base game that 25 is a lot better than any Madden set that I've released recently. And from what has been reported about 26 so far, it does seem like they are expanding on a lot of it. With the sense of like you actually able to play high school and Road to Glory. Uh Deal breakers for recruits and dynasty are gonna be more dynamic. And they might only have a 4-year plan because the idea is with by the next 4 years or so is when we get the PS6 and the next generation of consoles. Well, like the plan is for 25 to be a yearly release, or college football to be a yearly release. And with how this first one sold, it's 100% going to become a yearly thing. Honestly, with how well with how well college football sold, there has been like reports that it might have encouraged EA to go back to basketball, whether through NBA Live and bringing that back or with another college hoops game. But the staples of Madden and college football are never going away at this point anymore. Evan Witherspoon's limited Tyler Guy. This injury report for Seattle. All right. Yeah, it's free money because as long as they don't completely ruin the foundation that they have built, the game is going to be fun no matter what. Like it's going to be enjoyable to play. And it's like, but UCF announced their space uniforms for this year, the Mission 8 uniforms. They're getting added to the game next month, and holy shit, they look amazing. I think again with how much of a cult like following college football brings, yeah, it's gonna be a mainstay for a while. Because it just it will constantly make a good amount of money. Because like again, I'm probably gonna buy it every year instead of Madden. At least until at least until Madden shows me something. Like it's funny. I have friends who are really into hockey, and they have gotten me into hockey over the years and the NHL games. And I hear them complaining each year about like how EA does not touch hockey at all. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not totally surprised by that. But then I see like what NHL is getting for this upcoming release, and I'm just like, well, this actually looks like a massive improvement and seems really good. So I'll probably end up getting NHL 25. I used to play Nintendo stuff. I played a lot of Pokemon. Uh, Bob Flash can attest to this. I spent way too many hours into the Pokemon games as a shiny hunter. I got really burnt out from all that, which led me to playing more of like the Sony releases and the other and like others type of games. Yeah, I for a while I did play Nintendo stuff, but I have since sold all that stuff and have like purely focused on like PC and PlayStation, just because I don't know, kind of like I got burnt out from all that, and I have no intentions of ever going back. I mean, we'll see. Like, we'll see what the new console Nintendo has in the works is, but I get it again, just no intentions. Yeah, like Pokemon was Pokemon. I get, I fully understand the appeal behind Pokemon. Spend way too much time and money in those games, but like again, when you spend thousands of hours in a game, like 10 plus hours a day, you're gonna get completely lose interest eventually, and that's what happened to me. Like, and it's also the same time, like it got to the point with those games as well where I kind of lost the idea of having fun with them, because it was a case where, hey, a new one releases, okay, from the first minute, like I spend the first like however many hours it takes to like, as fast as I can complete the game and get all the mods and all that shit for the full decks, and it became less fun to play those and more of just like a chore to like make sure I'm ready to do what stuff I would want to do in it. Like most of my like Bob, most of the people I talked to, I mean, most of the people I talked to, most of the friends I talked to, I met through the Nintendo stuff, but the majority of us have since switched to other things. Like one of them's a really big Persona fan, and we nag him on it almost daily. No man, I complain about spending so many hours in the Pokemon games. If I ever touch Persona, I'm scared of how many hours I've spent in that. Again, like if the Switch 2 or whatever this new console is like really enticing, then maybe they'll bring me back, because that's what happened with the Switch. I had no intentions of getting the Switch when it first released, but then it launched and I was like, wait, this is actually really cool. Did not pre-order it, and we ran around to store to try to find one that was available. Eventually, we picked one up from Toys R Us. But from every, I don't know, Persona's a weird. I just don't have the time to spend that many hours into a game. Like I'm already struggling. I've already have struggled to find the time to finish Last of Us Part Two. I'm finally finding the time for that. Do I regret finding the time for that? Maybe, but I found the time. I'm finding the time for it. Oh yeah, I know that there's a lot of all that stuff surrounding it, and that's like the main reason that I'm thinking about it. But again, it's just I just don't know if I can really sink that much time into it. Because Snom, another one of our friends, we call him Snom because that's his favorite Pokemon and shit. Like he showed me a bunch of like the personas that relate to the mythologies, and I'm just sitting there looking at them, wanting to rip my hair out. As well, yeah, I'm not like too big into like needing things needing to be completely accurate to the myths and all that. Some of the persona designs, man, they are something else. Anyway, what are the other good games this week? It's 4% of people are picking the Panthers. Yeah, I'm fine with people down to Miami this week. Yeah, there's a lot of don't get like some of the designs are really good, and I like get some of the inspirations behind the bad ones as well. But like, come on, not a lot of people picking Dallas this week. Okay, I'm shocked more people aren't picking Washington over Cincy. Like I think that's going to be a sneakily good game. Like that could be a sneakily good game this week. What else has been? There was quite a bit of news earlier today. Uh, Herbert, yeah, Herbert didn't practice. Love potentially being back. I don't know. I don't know if the Ravens have started 0-3 either. That's a good point. I'm gonna have to check that. I think, but yeah, again, it's that's gonna be a good game because it's a season. Like, whoever wins that game pretty much saves their season. Because if the Cowboys fall to 1-2 with back-to-back losses, that could be a bad spiral to going down. And then the Ravens just avoiding the 0-3 start is going to be big as well. All right, yeah, so Jefferson and Aaron Jones were limited today. Jordan Addison was a DNP. That's concerning. But again, on Dolphins Twitter, they always showcase highlights of, or sometimes even lowlights of matches that Miami has played with their opponents before. Kenny Stills drop touchdown just showed up from when we played in Seattle last. I always think back to like the 2012 game against Seattle that I was at in Miami. That was a great game with Dan Carpenter making the game winner. That was fun. Yeah, again, it's all just weird. Yeah, it's like season saving. It should be interesting. This injury report for this week. I mean, at least Miami's injury report isn't CVS receipts long, but yeah, it is still not the greatest of injury reports to have. Again, again, I am banking on a few upsets this week because again, like, I do have a few so I am picking a few teams that not a lot of other people are picking. Yeah, yeah, those would definitely be up there. Steelers, Chargers, and Texans, Vikings should also be really good games this week. Honestly, you can even throw in. What are some other ones you can throw in? Chiefs Falcons might be a sneakily good game. Mainly because the Chiefs have been playing off. Uh, Lions and Cardinals. Lions and Cardinals is going to be an incredible game. And if Miami either was playing Sunday night this week or playing in the 1 o'clock window, I would also be live for Lions Cardinals. Like that game is going to be incredible. And talk about like season defining wins potentially. If the Lions start 1-2, that's gonna be a rough start to the season for them. And then like the Cardinals, I mean, if the Cardinals start 2-1 and get to like a head start on that division, like a true like step forward on that division, especially if Seattle loses to Miami, like Arizona could easily be the top of the NFC West come the end of the week. Also, yeah, the Lions. Again, they're 6 for me. They're 4. I really does this before, but yeah, the Lions who are like 6 of my rankings. They're in danger this week. If they lose to the Cardinals, depending on other matchups around the league, they can fall out of the rankings entirely. Like that's gonna be a really good game. Pretty much all the 4 o'clock games I could see being really good. Wait, we have Oh yeah, okay, that's why yeah. I was like, wait, we have college football on Sunday, but no, it's just Hawaii. God damn Hawaii. The bigger thing on Sunday, besides the NFL, is we have hockey back. The NHL is back on Sunday with some preseason. I'm definitely going to be watching as much of the Panthers as I can on Sunday. What is the college slate? Kansas, West Virginia is pretty good. Do we know where game day? Oh, yeah, he's going to Oklahoma this week. That's where game day is going. Okay. Yeah, I know Notre Dame is playing Miami of Ohio this week. Imagine if they lose again. Like, just imagine. I mean, they lost to one MAC school last week. It always happen again. Could always happen again. And that's a 3:30 kickoff as well. Yeah, Tennessee, Oklahoma. I get why that's the matchup for game day, but at the same time, I hate it. Man, this is also just a weird week for me college wise. UCF doesn't play. We have our bye week, so I'm kind of just waiting for that to end. Who do we play after the bye? I believe it's Colorado. No, Florida. No, it's Colorado. Gotta wait an extra week for that game. Yeah, Dano Tennessee has been playing really well. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the quarterback's last name just yet. When he's ready to enter the draft and all that, that's when I'll start. That's when I'll start trying to pronounce it. But Nico I, he's been playing well for Tennessee. I know that. Oklahoma's been doing all right. I believe I follow college a little bit. I have like 8 games on every Saturday, so I don't like fully pay attention because I'm busy doing other stuff. Uh, with the games on in the background. Unless it's like a really close game in the final few minutes or FSU, I don't typically watch college. And I'm only watching the FSU games this year because I want to see how badly they can look and see how they find ways to lose this time. But yeah, me watching FSU games is pure hate watch. Don't take it any other way. Speaking of who, don't they play this week? Who they play? Who does FSU got to lose to this week? FSU, no, FSU has started conference play. ACC standings. Oh, they play Cal this week. I cannot wait for FSU to begin 0-4. Like, could you imagine? Again, it's not been again. I grew up in South Florida, so I grew up a UM fan. I have since relocated over towards. I have since like gotten more accustomed to UCF, a family that went there, and me having since gone there. So like I root for UCF and UM. But yeah, so it's USF, UF, FSU. Just good hate watches there whenever I can. And UM plays USF this week. So go Canes. what other games stick out for this week in the NFL? So, hey, this is UM's first good year since Ken Dorsey, okay? This state is UCF's until further notice. All the other big schools in Florida have had like a stretch of 1 to 2 really good years throughout this century. UCF has had multiple years of success. I'm just saying, which of the Florida schools have won a national championship most recently? And no one is picking Denver this week. Not surprised. Yeah. So, what are all the games where I'm in the minority when it comes to this pick'em? New England, uh, Miami, Dallas, Arizona. Okay, I'm in the minority for 4 games. That feels good. And of course, Chargers and Steelers is 50-50. But I think earlier it was not. Uh, I mean, I feel like we're missing something else when it comes to like what's been in the news recently. When it comes to like the NFL, obviously. Uh, let's see. Cardinals off. James Conner was interviewed. Okay, Herbert's injury does not seem to be major, so he should be good to go for Sunday. That's nice. If Jordan Love manages to play this week, that would be impressive. But I think the smart thing would be to just wait 1 more week. Malik Willis did fine enough last week to where I don't think you should necessarily risk anything on his front. And I really didn't need to. Uh, yeah, so the Panthers, real quick. Let's talk about the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, real quick, just because. They benched Bryce Young, which I get he has not been playing greatest, but that franchise as a whole is in the dump. They released the linebacker who leads the team with sacks, only to then sign him back to the practice squad. That doesn't make a lot of sense to do. It's probably something related to his contract and him not wanting to pay him in full. Andy Dalton getting the start this week. I just don't know. The Panthers are in a really weird spot right now, and it seems like they're gonna try to get the first overall pick again. To which I say, who you gonna get? Like, you can draft Quinn Ewers. You don't have an offensive line, and that's the thing with like rebuilding teams that I know a lot of people have said before, and that's if you're gonna be a team that's in rebuild, you need to spend a year or two building the actual team before getting the quarterback. Like weirdly enough, the Chargers did it really well, but at the same time they did their rebuild back. They got Herbert, and then they built the team, but at least they built the team well. Like, take what the Chargers did, but just do it in reverse. Spend a year or two building your offensive line and building the team for the quarterback you want to draft. So, like, if the Panthers right now should be scouting for not only should be scouting quarterbacks, not for this year or next year, but for the draft 2 years from now. Draft quarterbacks for that draft and spend the next 2 years through free agency and through the draft building the team around that quarterback. Whether that is Arch Manning or someone else, because I highly doubt the Manning family is going to allow Arch to go to Carolina. Like, find a guy in the 2027 draft, which, funny enough, would have been my draft class if I kept playing. Find someone from that draft class and see from there. And then build a base around that talent. Don't try to force the quarterback to find success. Because like, I don't. If you put Bryce Young in a different situation, I don't know how much better he would be. What's up, Dolphins fan? Just the whole thing with Bryce Young, I feel so bad for him because like he is a legit talent, but the Panthers just play that entire situation so rough. Yeah. Hello, Dolphins fan. How are you feeling about this upcoming week against Seattle? How are you feeling? Because I mean, I still have like I'm still holding on to that Vikings game a few years back for Skylar Thompson where he looked really good. Scared? Fair. I'm holding on to two things: that Thompson can just do enough and not turn the ball over and not force shit. Like if he just purely like if again if McDaniel can keep the play calling simple to the point where the passes might not go too deep, but they get the ball to the main guys in space and everything. He'd be fine. Like, get the ball to Hill, to Waddle, Achane, Mose. Like, get the ball to the playmakers and go from there. And then Kevin Harlan is on the call. We have good luck when Harlan is calling games. So I'm holding on to a few for those few things. I think we'll be fine. Exactly. Like we have the pieces, but it feels like whenever it starts to show that those pieces are indeed the pieces, something goes wrong, or like the play, or it's like yeah, something goes wrong. Either injuries, or the play calling becomes weird and doesn't make a lot of sense, or there's other teams all of a sudden explode out of nowhere. Like I mentioned this in the video in the reaction video immediately after Thursday night game. The lack of any type of end arounds or jet sweeps or jet touch passes so far this season is probably one of the more concerning things I have with the team. Like you gotta find a way to utilize those more often because other teams have. KC has utilized them with Xavier Worthy a lot this season so far. The Lions were doing it quite a bit. Who's some other? I want to say the Eagles are doing it in Brazil. I know the Packers were like utilize the things, utilize the speed. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like the same style of offense that it did last year, and that's my biggest concern is that they changed too much of the offense. And that could be because they felt like they had to because of the offensive line issues, or because they overthought things because they felt like the defenses were going to catch on too much. And that's the other thing with McDaniel, which again I love him. I'm happy he got the extension. I want him to be the coach for as long as we have success. At least last year, and at least his first 2 years, he constantly tried to outsmart the defense while he was actually just outsmarting himself. And I think back to the playoff game in KC is one of them, but the Tennessee game as well, where you have a solid ground game working, and you go away from it for no reason, then that's been one of the bigger issues with him. Or then it would be like, or then it would be like Hill or Waddle are going on a good stretch, and then all of a sudden they're just not utilized. Oh, same. But watching that Eagles game on Monday night, I was getting flashback because like is that Vangio soft shell 2 minute defense that just never works. The amount of teams that have tried that and have failed is too many to count. Because there's the saying, prevent defense prevents winning. And it's because it is so easy to move down the field on prevent defense. Like you utilize prevent defense when the other team. The only way you utilize prevent defense is when it's under 10 seconds left. Or you purely play prevent in a way that instead of prevent stuff down the field, prevents the sidelines. But most teams don't play it that way. Like it doesn't get you like prevent just doesn't work how teams expect it. And Vangio is too stubborn to figure that out. Anthony Weaver hasn't had a chance really to utilize it to test out his final 2 minute stuff. So we'll see. Again, I have as much hope as I can for Sunday. But you know damn well if we beat Seattle, I'm gonna be right back here for Sunday Night Football, or like in that reaction video post game video, and be hyping us up for Super Bowl contenders again. Because again, Seattle is a really good team. They're dealing with quite a few injuries right now, but I mean, if McDaniel can truly scheme up a defense or scheme up a game plan that can win with the, it should not be difficult for him to scheme up an offense and game plan that can win against a team like Seattle with the amount of weapons we have. For as much as it is said that the offense is like built for Tua and only Tua can have success in it, with how much McDaniel is acclaimed as a offensive genius and the amount of talent we have, that should not be the case. It can take a downswing, no doubt, but we should like if we typically average like 30 points with Tua, it should go down to about 20 with anyone else, minimum. So like, I get that majority of the offense, and majority I mean like damn near 90% of it is purely based off of timing and reading the defense really quickly. But we have plays that aren't based on that also work well. And like you can have quick, easy backup plans for all that. Oh, if we blow out Seattle, oh boy. Now, of course, it depends on how we get to that 41. If it is a defensive masterclass where they have like 2 pick sixes and a scoop and score, then it's a different story. But if Skylar Thompson goes for like 350, 3 touchdowns, Achane and Mostert combined for like one, or have like 100 and a tud each or whatever, like if it is an offensive masterclass, then oh boy, I'm gonna be unbearable for that week. If that's the case, you see Miami in the top 5. I mean, maybe it's if we go out there and just completely handle business, then I know McDaniel was just signed to an extension this offseason to 2028. Give him a lifetime. Yeah, I'm just hoping it's a competitive game and we don't look completely outmatched, because we shouldn't. We have way too much talent to look outmatched in that one. Flash, y'all played Washington this week. If you begin the season 0-3, no matter what happens with Miami, I'm talking shit. No matter what happens with Miami, you lose to both Washington and New England to begin the year. That is a disaster class. Oh yeah, week 4 needs to be a win no matter what. No matter what. Hell, I could be behind center and we would need to win that game. Because that is a revenge game. That game against Tennessee last year lost us the division. I know a lot of people point towards that Buffalo game. If we beat Tennessee when we have a 13-point lead with was it 13? Whatever. With the lead we have against Tennessee without much time left, we handle business there, we win the division. Like, I know everyone points towards the Buffalo game, but that game shouldn't even be meant for anything. Oh, got Jamar Chase. Oh boy. Jamar Chase is really live with COD right now. That's hilarious. Uh, I mean, he could imagine if he was playing with Jaden Daniels. That is something Ayuk would do instead. Right before the matchup, Ayuk and Jaden Daniels would be playing COD together. I know. It's like Monday Night Football for Cincy, like you guys should handle business. And if I go 15-1 in predictions and that one loss being Cincy to Washington, I am definitely talking shit. Oh yeah, the Vikings surprised me as well, and I know them being at 10 for my power rankings doesn't fully show it, but they definitely surprised me as well. That was a nice win against San Francisco. The only reason they're not higher is because I kind of want them to show me more. In the sense of I need them to be consistent with it. I'm still hesitant to say that Sam Darnold is rejuvenized and is fully back to play like his USC self. But hey, if they can keep this a level of play up, then yeah, they'll definitely be moving up the ranks quickly. So speaking of Higgins, how is T Higgins? When is T Higgins going to be back? Like that's my question for Higgins. Like, it feels like it feels like he has proven the contract talk for the offseason. Week 5. Okay. Yeah. Higgins has definitely proved the whole, hey, you probably should have paid me shit in the offseason. Because yeah, you guys are missing him bad. Yeah, the expectation is Odell will be back around that time as well. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we both kind of came to the same idea that we wouldn't be surprised if Odell waits until Tua is back as well. So if he waits till around week 8 just because he doesn't want to play with Skylar Thompson. But like the idea is Odell is going to be back in time for that New England game, which could be really big. Hamstring for Higgins. All I'm saying is Cincinnati you guys have backed yourself into a corner for this upcoming offseason, having to pay both Chase and Higgins. That's going to be an interesting offseason. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Higgins being back for this week kind of makes sense, but I feel like just wait another week or so. Yeah, I do think that was DPI against Cincy, but I get both sides of the argument. But he did get there early, so yeah, it was yeah. But if y'all trade Higgins and only pay Chase, that is a disastrous outcome. Oh yeah, yeah. Even with that DPI being blatant, being deemed yeah. even with that DPI being blatant, being obvious, the refs were horrendous. So many missed shit, so many bad calls. Ball Flash, I was telling you this offseason that y'all are gonna miss Tyler Boyd. You have missed Tyler Boyd. I mean, yeah, the refs won a majority of games this week. I was gonna say, I mean, the Eagles game, the Eagles lost that one. Yeah, you can make an argument that they won Houston the game, but at the same time, it was that Houston game. Sunday Night Football was bad. Sunday Night Football was bad. Definitely like one of the worst games I've watched in a while. Because the tight end position is the only position you added pieces to this offseason. So you need to just yeah, legit. I think on the offensive side of the ball, the only money Cincinnati spent was on tight ends. You need to justify that spending somehow, and Gesicki can only do so much. I was yeah. And Monday Night Football ended when quarter 4 of Sunday Night Football began. The refs were just so bad in that game. Like, I'm hoping the refs get better this week. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not. Yeah, predictions. This is the first year for the NFL where I am doing like week to week predictions, since this is the first year of the NFL I'm covering. The first week went well. Week 1 went pretty well. Yeah, this week, last week, we'll see. I am taking a little bit of a riskier approach this week with predictions, but at the same time, I feel like it's kind of like needed. Yeah, week 2 was definitely drunk for sure. Yeah, and we'll see it for Monday, Cincy. Like, I even made for going back to the whole week 2 being drunk. I made a reference to that in Power Rankings. So like, Houston was hung over on victory on Monday because that again that third quarter, a quarter of football should not last an hour. That's roughly how long one half of play lasts. Yeah, like that's how long the second half of Monday Night Football lasts. It lasted the same amount of time as the third quarter. Like, jeez. Again, hopefully week 3 is better with the officiating. But to be fair, some of these matchups are looking like it's going to naturally bring out a lot of calls. Like Chargers, Steelers, both of them being very smash mouth defensive focused teams. Wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot of holding calls. Wouldn't be shocked if there's a few face masks, a few late hits. And even when they do pass, because it's so unexpected, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a few like holdings, defensive holdings. What teams are 0-2 at the moment? The two ones I know for sure. The Giants and the Panthers will be 0-3. I will tell you that right now. Those teams for sure. Who are the other 0-2? Denver will be 0-3. Tennessee. Potato, potato, Buffalo. So going based off like who I have predictions and everything, Rams, Ravens, Titans, Panthers, Broncos, and Giants will all be 0-3, I believe. Although I could see the Ravens winning. That's about it. So what was that? Ravens, Panthers, Giants. Broncos, Titans. Might be one more. Missing, but yeah, 5-ish, 5-4. To be fair, that's just in part because the Giants aren't that great. Oh no, Jacksonville as well. Forgot about, yeah. Jacksonville would also be 0-3. So Jacksonville, yeah, 5-6. And in large part just because like they're not like the amount of parity in the NFL this season is weird. Like, I have the Colts winning because like I do not trust Chicago for 1 sec. Chicago should be 0-2 at the moment. Like they should have lost to Tennessee. The two and okay. And being like Chicago should be 0-2. That week 1 game against Tennessee was bad. And honestly, I am shocked their special teams coordinator has not been fired yet for Tennessee. Honestly, Jacksonville should be 1-1. Miami should be at risk of going 0-3 right now. But that comeback against Jacksonville was great. But yeah, Colts I expect to win. Like flipping it, like who do I expect to not who do I expect to avoid the 0-3 start? Really only the Colts. Most of the other 0-2 teams. Yeah, they do. But at the same time, this era of the Jaguars haven't played the Bills in Buffalo yet. They've played in Jacksonville in that 9-6 game that was horrendous, and they played in London. So they haven't played in Buffalo yet. That's a different beast entirely. If Jacksonville wins and beats the Bills, I will gladly take it. Especially if Miami beats Seattle. Like the ideal situations for this week for me, New England beats the Jets, we beat Seattle, Buffalo somehow loses. Those happen, we're in good shape. The only thing I don't expect is Buffalo losing. Again, in Buffalo, they're playing incredibly well. Much I hate to say it, but the Bills are the top dogs in the AFC East. But again, we'll see. The Jaguars do have a much better front seven. Like they have a much more complete front seven than Miami does. The secondary is banged up, but to be fair, so are the Bills. You have what the Bills finishing 9-8. If the Bills somehow not fall off a cliff, but the Bills finishing 9-8 would be shocking at the current moment. Yeah, I mean, I could see it just because their schedule is difficult, but at the same time, they have at least through the first 2 weeks, they have played up to that like higher standard they need to. We'll see. Where'd you have Miami finishing? Of course, with Tua being out now, it's gonna probably be different. But I did like my predictions were that it was gonna come down to the final few weeks between us and Buffalo for that division. Sorry, but yep. Yeah, that is very true with Buffalo, and that's kind of and like the same way the question surrounding Miami is can they win in December and January? Like can they win in November and December? The question for the Bills is can they win in January when it matters, when it truly matters most? And it does kind of depend on their path and like who they have to go up against. If they can avoid playing both Kansas City and Cincinnati, they have legit chances But the issue is you're pretty guaranteed to be facing one of those in the playoffs. Like that's why, like last year, well, last year was one of their better chances to go on a run, but KC got in their way. And then obviously, what was it, 21 when they made the championship game? Listen, if my at this point, if Miami making the playoffs would be impressive. Oh yeah, wide right. No matter which era of the Bills, there's always going to be a wide right involved. Yeah, I mean, okay, 4 straight losses in a Super Bowl is hilarious, no matter what. Like, no matter how much dominance they have over us, gotta win a Super Bowl for it to matter anything. That's the thing with the Patriots. They dominated over the AFC East and they won Super Bowls to back up that dominance. And that's why they were truly hated. The Bills, yeah, they're hated, but hey, we know you can screw it up come playoff time. I would love it if whenever the Bills make the Super Bowl again, they have to go up against another NFC East team just to lose. Yeah, I mean, the Bills' history in the playoffs is weird. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but definitely weird. Even again, when they've had their chances, it was the NFC East to come around. I would say the Bills and the Vikings are more similar. Both 0-4 in Super Bowls. Both had like really like Hall of Fame worthy quarterbacks. Both eventually found their footing again, only for it to not really matter. That is true. The Jets do have more rings. But to be fair, the Jets sold their soul for that one ring, and yeah, they're never going back, it feels. They sold their soul for that ring. I mean, again, I was watching a video last week at this point, I believe, that was on like the complete history of the Jets. And the fact that they took Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino when they needed a quarterback in '84 is still hilarious to me. I mean, like, yeah, Bills and Vikings, pretty similar histories. Kind of offset of each other as well by a few decades, by a decade or so, it seems. Because you had the Vikings like re-rise to prominence in the early 2000s with Moss, Carter, and Culpepper. And then it took about 20 years for the Bills to have their re-rise to dominance when Allen came around. Eh, who would Cincinnati be most similar to? I want to try to think of an NFC team. Uh, you might hate me for this, Bob Flash, but the Falcons. I mean, that's pretty. That's a similar. There's some similarities there. Probably not a lot to really warrant anything. The Falcons of the AFC. Oh, that's yeah. 28 to 3. But Matt Ryan was on the Manning cast from Monday Night Football, and when Saquon dropped that pass, you can tell he wanted to just jump up and down and cheer. The Falcons are never gonna live that down. The only person who's not gonna live that down more than the Falcons is Kyle Shanahan if he doesn't win a ring in his career. If Kyle Shanahan never gets a Super Bowl ring, he is never living that down. Dolphins, no. No, because the Cowboys have had more success. I mean, no. I don't know who the Dolphins equivalent would be to in the NFC. The Cowboys just doesn't feel right. Because, like, again, for the past 20 some odd years, the Cowboys have always felt like it was their chance to go back. It took until like 2 years ago for us to felt that way, or for Miami to feel that way. So I don't know who a good comparison would be. The Seahawks. I was thinking Seattle, but again, that's I mean, it also just doesn't fully feel right. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do like cross conference comparisons because like when it comes to comparing the Dolphins to any other sports franchise, I've always said that us and the Knicks are very similar. Oh, trust me, same. I would love, but if whenever Miami wins a Super Bowl, if I'm around to see it, the reaction is going to be legendary. Rams is definitely more accurate than the Seahawks, mainly because the Seahawks were in the AFC for the majority of their existence. Like I would say, Dolphins and the Knicks. When not even talking, not keeping it confined to within the NFL, just sports franchises as a whole. Dolphins and Knicks are very similar franchises. The Panthers. The Panthers are the most irrelevant team in the NFL. Their like prime history is two separate seasons that are 8 years apart. Is no 8 years? No, more like 11 years apart. Like really, the only 2 years that matter in Panthers history is '04, when Jack Delhomme led them to a Super Bowl loss against Tom Brady, and then 2015 when Cam Newton led them to a Super Bowl loss against Peyton Manning. Besides those 2 years, there's not a lot to write home about for Carolina. Now the other side is like Jacksonville has also been pretty irrelevant in their history because they haven't even made a Super Bowl. But I mean they have more legendary seasons or more legendary moments than the Panthers. Because like it was Jacksonville who the last team that both Dan Marino and Jim Kelly played in the playoffs was Jacksonville. So they had the finishing blow on two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They have the 2017 season. The Texans are a good choice as well for that. The only reason why not the Lions or the Browns when it comes to irrelevant teams in NFL history, the Lions and Browns both are multiple time NFL champions, and they are rooted deeply in the history and the survival of the NFL in its early years. The Texans is a good shout. It's a good option when it comes to irrelevancy as well. It is Houston, Jacksonville, or Carolina. If New Orleans has another power outage during the Super Bowl, that would be that has to be bad luck of some kind. Well, yeah, recently since the Browns came back, they've been irrelevant, but their history is not irrelevant. Because again, they have all those years before the NFL and AFL merger. They have both. They have what was it? The drive and yeah, they have the drive and the fumble both against the Broncos, who ended up winning the Super Bowls in those respected years. They have the fact that Bill Belichick was their head coach before they went away. Like, yeah, the Browns since 1999 have been irrelevant. Their history as a whole isn't. Well, the Vikings and Saints both began their years with pretty bad teams in the Giants and Panthers, respectively. The Vikings got the 49ers in week 2, who they have consistently beaten when playing in Minnesota since, like, I think it's a stat since 1999 that the Niners have never won in Minnesota. And then the Saints is the most impressive one. Like, the way they handled the Cowboys and the way that they made the Cowboys look small and weak was impressive. Also, the other reason why the Browns aren't necessarily irrelevant because of their whole history, Jim Brown and Paul Warfield. Cleveland got some pretty legendary players. Yes, both of those are from like the 70s, but still. Oh yeah, the Cowboys are going to be called frauds for eternity. Even when they do win another ring, people are going to be like, okay, prove it the next year. And then when they don't, they're going to call that ring a fraudulent ring. Okay, Paul Warfield is still post 69. To be fair, yeah, he was a Dolphin the majority of the 70s, but still, he ended up working in the Browns front office after his playing days. And you can't tell me that Brady Quinn wasn't. Trent Richardson, come on, the Browns. Braylon Edwards, the Browns guy. That is true. Yeah, the U have finally having a really good year again, and it is fun. It is fun to watch Cam Ward play. So I do pay a little more attention to UCF. I have a little stronger ties to UCF, but UM is so fun. I so root for them. Maybe a Bob Flash. Come on, keep testing me. I can name somewhat relevant Browns players all night. We got 2013 Josh Gordon, his one really good year before being caught on PEDs. Josh Gribbs, who's the Hall of Fame nominations were announced today, and there's a few good names on there. Who is your cousin playing as? But yeah, that does seem pretty fair. I don't care anymore. Well, Derek Anderson says other. The Jags, yeah. I think again, I was talking about it a little earlier. Madden is just I've gotten so out of Madden since the turn of the decade. Really, the game, like since they added the whole abilities and X factors, I've kind of just haven't cared because it has felt less like a true football game. Yeah, I know you don't like them. I know you don't like the Browns, but Josh Gribbs is one of the nominees for the Hall of Fame this year. Him getting in as a special teams player would make a lot of sense. He was really good at it. He was really good in that role. Jamal Lewis, another Browns legend. No, Jamal Lewis is more known for Baltimore, but still, Jamal Lewis is someone who maybe makes the Hall one day, but I doubt it. No, the Browns won't make the playoffs this year. And that you want to talk about cursed franchises? The Browns got out of their curse when Baker Mayfield won them that playoff game against Pittsburgh. That's when they broke through the curse and were starting to like truly become a relevant franchise again. And then they got Deshaun Watson, and the football gods looked down on them and said, Y'all really just did that and cursed them again? Yeah, they won't make Super Bowl. Like, Joe Flacco was the most relevant quarterback they've had, it seems. I mean, like, besides Baker Mayfield. Like, it's really just been Flacco. What, Cody Kessler wasn't doing shit. Deshaun Kaiser wasn't doing shit. Brandon Weeden wasn't doing shit. Josh McCown wasn't doing shit. I already mentioned Brady Quinn, Derek Anderson. I already mentioned Tim Cows. Who else am I missing? Yeah, Baker is a dark horse for MVP this season. If he can keep playing and keep playing the way he has been, and Tampa can keep winning and are a contender for that 1 seed this year in the NFC, he could win MVP. Oh yeah, Flacco would go down in the NFL like history books as a Baltimore Raven. Mainly because he won a Super Bowl there, but also because that's where he spent the majority of his career. RG3 was in Cleveland at one point. At this point, I'm just thinking about Cleveland quarterbacks. I do that. You mentioned a team, I would go off like, okay, who were the quarterbacks in the 2000s? I already mentioned Jack Delhomme for Carolina. Frank Reich was there for a little bit. Matt Moore was there. Who was before Cam Newton? Was that Terry Collins? No, that was Tennessee. I'm thinking of. Y'all remember Will Greer talking about weird ass Carolina quarterbacks? Will Greer had like a 2 game stretch in 21 where he was dominant and was never heard from again. I can pull out random names. Yeah, Cleveland has had a lot of different quarterbacks. I think Case Keenum was starting for them at one point. They had 5 different starting quarterbacks last year alone. Like, yeah, Bryce Young definitely needs to get out of Carolina. I don't like Carolina. Carolina. I know they said today that they have no plans on trading Bryce Young at the moment. In the offseason, he needs to get out of there and go to somewhere where he can sit a year or two and like regain confidence and kind of relearn football. There's talks about Miami being a good fit. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to like a San Francisco, a Green Bay, a Rams. Like, he goes to somewhere to sit behind a Shanahan coach team for like a year or two, and then he's let back into the wild. I feel like he would be a lot better of a player. Yeah, he was. Will Greer was a backup in Dallas, but he'll never be more known anywhere than he is a legend in Morgantown for West Virginia. Kyle Allen start a game for Carolina at one point? Again, this point I'm just thinking about random quarterbacks. Again, Dorian Thomas Robinson, PJ Walker, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, and Jeff Driscoll all started games for Cleveland last year, and they still made the playoffs, and I'm pissed about it. Like if Joe Flacco just lost like 1 or 2 more games, they still would have made the playoffs, but they would have had to play like KC in round one, and Miami would have had to play not yeah Miami would have been 5 seed. Like fuck Joe Flacco. Yeah, the DTR can be a really solid quarterback. Okay, is that the point where a lot of guys who are like younger players and don't and haven't had a true shot to show off their skills? I feel like they should just go to the UFL and show them off there. So that way they might be able to get a bet. So that way they might have a better shot of being a QB too. I mean, I don't know. Even if the Vikings keep playing like this, I don't think the way they're playing right now is good enough come playoff time. Yeah, this division still belongs to Detroit until proven otherwise. And to be fair, that could change drastically after this week if Minnesota beats Houston and Detroit loses to Arizona. But yeah, I mean, I just I don't know. Again, the Vikings are playing well at the moment, but again, I just don't feel like it's well enough for when they have to for when they have to truly play those tougher teams. No, I also have the Cardinals in the playoffs. I had them possibly sneaking in as the seventh seed before the season started. Now at this point, honestly, I would not be shocked if they win that division. Like if San Francisco keeps up this inconsistent style of play, and Arizona maybe doesn't play the exact same way consistently, but they at least play decent, like really well consistently, they're going to be a really good surprise team. Because there is that trend that every year a team goes from worst in the division to first in the division. It could be the Cardinals this year. I still think Cincy will find a way to turn it around because that division is all it's backwards as hell. But yeah, it could be Arizona. Who knows? I mean, in that same logic, it could be the Vikings as well, because they were worse in the division last year. Right? Were they? Or no? Were Chicago just behind them? So, much. I'm about to finish this drink. I'll be calling it soon. Yeah. All right. Gonna go to about 9:40, just because I have other stuff to take care of for tomorrow. Yeah, a few more minutes of this. It's been fun. Okay, what were the last place teams last year? New England's not going to win the East. Bengals, I still think could win the North, but who knows at this point? And is Tennessee not going to win the South? I thought there was a chance, but yeah, that's fair. I had actually I have hold on. I have the mini helmet sets from Riddell, and this is how I keep track of what my division predictions were. Actually, it's not on this helmet set. Um, but yeah, I had Miami, KC, Houston, Cincy, Detroit, Tampa, Philly, and San Francisco. Those are my division winners. I have an older helmet set that's in a different location that has my division predictions. Like, people were sleeping on Tampa this offseason, and I didn't understand it. And now people are starting to come back around to Tampa. Because like for as good as the team that Atlanta has built, they need time to get it together. Oh yeah, that division belongs to Mahomes until he says it doesn't. Well, I don't know, Botflash. Maybe if Baltimore and Cincy will get their head out of their asses, then the Pittsburgh won't. The Steelers are the only team that have showed up consistently this season. Like the Steelers know that the Steelers have known their identity as a team since 1969. They're not going to go away from it. This is that simple. I do expect either Baltimore or Cincy to turn the season around at some point, but they need to soon. Yeah, they did sweep Baltimore last year. again, like, again, I don't expect the Steelers to be able to win every game like how they have, but I mean, as long as they keep winning, they're going to be the team to beat in that division for this season. Because like again, you both Baltimore and Cincy are now 2 games back on Pittsburgh. It's not an easy hill to climb out of. I think both of them could, but Baltimore does not have an easy opponent this week in Dallas. So it's really up to Cincy to handle business against Washington, and who knows how y'all are gonna look. But yep, 9:40. Going to wrap it up here just because I got stuff to do for tomorrow. So yeah, again, no live stream tomorrow night for Thursday Night Football. Typically, I do Thursday night play-by-plays. Unable to tomorrow. Got something going on. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe if you're new. Blah blah blah. See you guys next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.